Just before we set off, there's something that I've come across in this car which I wanted to share with you, and it's actually quite cool. So I've unlocked the car, I've stepped in, and as soon as I put my foot on the brake, the ignition is on, and then all I do is just put the car into drive and you're ready to go. That's a proper implementation of new technology. It's not game changing, but I think that is hugely useful. And then when you put it into park, take your foot off the brake, everything shuts down. I love that. EV cars have come under a lot of scrutiny of late. Not because they're terrible cars, in fact, and I might get shot for saying this, but on paper, electric cars are the closest thing to perfect. They're quiet, they're clean, they're refined, they're comfortable, and they've got some great tech. More often than not, cars are being reviewed by car people and petrol heads. Car people like cars to have a little bit more character, a bit more theatre, a bit more drama. Some may provoke nostalgia, some might just be very exciting, but whatever it may be, a car has to feed the soul. Something that's historically been missing in electric vehicles. But what about for the rest of the people that just need a car to do what it's designed to do? Get you from A to B, do the shopping, drop the kids to and from school. It's just all gotten a little bit political. The resale value, battery life, what happens to the car once it reaches its end of life? Are they really as green as manufacturers are making them out to be? So in this video, we're gonna forget about all that. We're gonna put all that negativity to one side, and we're just gonna embrace what we have and take a look at that car parked outside and review it for what it is. We'll talk about what I love about it, what I don't, what's good, what's not, and give you my overall opinion. But make sure you meet me back here, as I'm going to give you 3 bits of advice and 3 reasons why an electric car may be a good option for you today. Let's go. So what happens when a brand renowned for its 4-wheel drive system sprinkle a bit of technology that thrives on said systems, and then mix in with that the best-selling car segment currently in the UK? You get the Audi Q4 E-Tron Quattro, more specifically the Sportback. The Q4 make up one of 3 EV cars at Audi, and each of them are available in a few different variants. So you have the Q4, the Q4 Sportback, the Q8, the Q8 Sportback, the SQ8, the SQ8 Sportback, and then the GT, and then the RS GT. If I've got that right, that makes 8 cars, 6 of which are an SUV. Let's talk performance. This particular one has been supplied to us by Audi Press UK, and this one is the 50 model, which has approximately 100 brake horsepower more than the 40 model, coming in at around 300 brake horsepower. And of course, to help put all that power down, it's only available in all-wheel drive, aka Quattro. 0 to 62 comes up in 6.2 seconds. I appreciate that 0 to 60 times are the global measure of any vehicle's performance, but what does it mean in the real world, where it's unlikely, though not impossible, that you're going to be partaking in 0 to 60 sprints? So whether you have a car full of people, a boot full of luggage, or you have some really challenging driving conditions, ice, sleet, snow, rain, you can leave busy junctions and you can leave roundabouts with complete confidence and ability, because power and torque, which is essentially what gets the car going, is available instantly. Quattro system ensures that you don't get any slipping and sliding of the wheels, and that 300 brake horsepower means that even with the additional weight that you might have on board, you can really get going. So regardless of driving conditions, you have confidence in abundance. To get the car in its most sporty setting, you can click the drive select button just down here to dynamic, and what that does is just tightens everything up, and now we should have all of 300 brake horsepower to play with. Plenty of power. Now let's talk electricity. The 40 and the 50 version of the Q4 e-tron has a 76.6 kilowatt hour battery. Now Audi claim that they can do between 262 and 321 miles on a full charge. I am currently at 65% capacity on my battery, and I've got 150 mile range. So I think if I was at 100%, it's probably going to be closer to that lower number of around 260 mile range. However, with the current conditions, i.e. being 7 degrees outside, I don't think I'm going to achieve anywhere near 300 miles on a full charge. Just going to interject here very quickly, give you an update. I did manage to find a fast charger, and I have charged the car up to 100%, which is giving me 236 miles of total range. Although it did come at a cost. Ouch. With the Q4, you're able to charge up to 135 kilowatts per hour. So should you be lucky enough to find one that's available and working, you'll be able to charge this from 5 to about 80% in just under 40 minutes. But like with any car, be it combustion or electric, that all those numbers are heavily dependent on your own driving style. You know, how often you have the air conditioning on or off. To give you a bit of an idea, my car is currently reading a 146 mile range. Should I turn the aircon on, that plummets down to 134, 133. So I lose, what, 10, 15 miles by simply just having the aircon on. You know, whether you're going uphill, downhill, whether you're driving on the motorway or town driving, constantly starting, stopping, going over speed bumps, weather conditions, you know, batteries do better in warmer climates. Yeah, all those numbers, all those impressive facts and figures on the Audi Q4 is not what's impressed me the most, because this is not the first electric car that I've driven. I'm used to that instant power, instant torque. The thing that's impressed me a lot about the Q4 is practicality. The Q4, when compared to its closest rivals such as the EQA, the EQB and the EQC from Mercedes, and likewise from the BMW electric SUV clan, is class leading when it comes to practicality. However, this is a Sportback, which means that it's a little bit more, at least in my opinion, aesthetically pleasing than the standard Q4. What you gain in looks, you lose in practicality. Is exactly what you thought I was gonna say, didn't you? Hey, I did too. I was so ready to say that this is more of a sloped roof and it's more of a coupe-esque kind of car, and that you lose practicality over aesthetics. But no. In fact, the Sportback has a 535 litre boot over the 520 litres that you get in the standard Q4. Don't ask me how. I've put it down to one of two things. Either that the engineers at Audi are pure geniuses, or there was a typo in the press information that I got on this car. Either way, it's a 15 litre difference between the two. It's not like life-changing. So 535 litres in the boot, what does that actually mean? Because let's face it, never in the history of, well, humanity has anyone ever gone, oh, 535 litres in the boot, that's a fantastic amount of space. No. They take that number, they go 535, compare that to that of the BMW or the Mercedes and go, right, that's got more, so therefore it's got a bigger boot. Although it's true the Q4 has 40 litres more than the EQB and 35 litres more than the bigger GLC and iX3, more importantly, I can confirm the Q4 was able to swallow up a two-piece large-sized buggy with room to spare for a few bags. I didn't anticipate the Q4 being as big as it is, but more importantly, when you drive it, you don't really notice the size of the Q4. It shrinks around you. Once you're in it, the space is incredibly impressive. I'm 5'11", and this is my seating position. I mean, look how much headroom I still have. But what's more impressive is how much space you have in the rear. So I've left the front seat as it was, so that seating position is good for a person of 5'11", and you could probably just about tell that I've still got plenty of knee room. Even if I extend my legs a little bit, I've still got lots of space. And up here, I've probably still got another 2 inches worth of headroom, so it is very, very spacious. In the middle here, you might even be able to still fit another young adult back here. Alternatively, you can have your coffee and baby milk and an armrest instead. Visibility is great, even though you have this sloped roofline at the back. The view from the rear window isn't compromised. You have the big A-pillars with the huge side mirrors, yet you have a little window here just to make sure that you can still see what's going on over there. So visibility is another area where the Q4 really excels. And because the Q4 e-tron is designed as an electric car from the ground up, it doesn't have a transmission tunnel here in the back. So you can easily fit 3 adults without that tunnel in the middle encroaching into anyone's legroom. At the front, I've got 2 cup holders, a little bit of storage down here, a couple of USB-C ports, a little bit of space in here as well for bits and bobs. And as well, there's a good amount of space here in the door pockets and the door bin as well. Another point to make while we're on the subject of practicality, I put my son's car seat in here last night and it took me all of about 30 seconds. It was incredibly easy. We've put that car seat into other cars and it hasn't always been that easy. The ISOFIX is sometimes really hard to get to, but not in the case of the Q4, which I must say has proven to be very handy. In all the years that I've been driving, which is since 2004, never have I come across a car that has the child locks in the control panel just here. In any car that I've been in, you've got to open the rear door, there's a little latch on there which you've got to flick to switch the child lock on and off. So if you have an adult there, and you have to get out of the car, open it for them and then unlock it. In the Audi Q4, you have 2 buttons here, so I can lock the rear left and the rear right one. I can control them separately. Why is that not on every single car? It's 2023. Let's talk tech. The LED laser lights at Audi, they are immense. Audi Matrix LED technology provides precise, high-resolution illumination of the road, dazzling onto oncoming vehicles, and vehicles in front can be considerably reduced as a result. However, this one hasn't got it yet, but I did experience it in a friend's Audi, and it's brilliant. That is one option I would take if I was buying an Audi every time without fail. I'm a bit disappointed that it doesn't come with the tech pack that this car does have. It's got the upgraded, heads-up display along with some driving features, which I'll come back to a little later on. But those headlights, especially for someone that lives out in the sticks a little bit, I find that hugely useful. You can, however, have it as a standalone cost option. So while we're on the subject, let's talk about the options. So this particular demonstrator has the Comfort and Sound Pack, which comes in at £1,295, and with that you get the reversing camera, parking system plus, adaptive cruise control with speed limiter, and the Sonos premium sound system. It also has the technology pack that I mentioned, which probably is my favorite option on this car, because with that you get the augmented reality heads-up display, which is hugely impressive. I first experienced that in a Mercedes S-Class, so you get S-Class technology in a Q4, make of that what you will. It also has the Audi Virtual Cockpit Plus, the 12-volt socket, and 2 USB Type-C connections in the rear. Interior package for front seats in twin leather at £815. I would personally like to see leather, be it real or faux, in this level of car, but you do have to pay for leather, which is an £850 option, so in the grand scheme of things it's not a huge cost. It also has something called Safety Package Plus, which comes in at £650, and what that basically means that the Q4 has sensors all around the vehicle that's monitoring every situation. Be it someone in your blind spot, it will tell you by illuminating the LED lights on the mirror enclosure just here, and as well it can preempt things. So if the car thinks that a collision is imminent, it can take measures to try and mitigate the impact. So for example, by pre-tensioning your seatbelt to ensure that you're in the safest possible position in the event of an impact. Again, for £650, that's definitely an option I would take. And ambient lighting at a modest £100. Other than those, I've got all the other creature comforts that I'm going to need: heated seats, dual zone climate control, folding mirrors. I've got wireless Apple CarPlay here working away, automatic headlights, automatic windscreen wipers. Just going back to my earlier point with the heads-up display, once you've got the driving assistance systems on, you can see just up ahead there's a little yellow line underneath the car that it's tracking, and I can see that on my windscreen. And if I just sort of deviate from my lane, you can see the heads-up display starts drawing these red lines over where you're crossing, and you shouldn't be, obviously. You've got a lot of information there. You've got the speed that you're doing, what the speed limit is for that road. Love that. Let's talk design. I think the E-Tron range at Audi are probably one of the best looking cars on the market, because I don't think the design has deviated too much from the likes of the Q3 and the Q5. You know, you really have to know what you're looking for to be able to distinguish them. And I think that's a good thing. And I think there are certain other brands who have just gone so far the other way that you know it's an electric car from a million miles away, and not for always the right reasons. And I think that that's a bit of PR that EV cars can do without. As a whole though, I think the Q4 Sportback does look great. I don't know if this is the colour combination that I would personally choose, if this was in like a gunmetal grey or white or black with some sort of black pack to de-chrome all the chrome bits around the car. I think this thing would look as good as any other electric SUV currently on the market. Before this car arrived, I fully convinced myself that all the buttons were going to be that silly proximity touch sensitive buttons, but it's not. Everything in here is a physical button. So for example, the air conditioning unit, you've got your automatic button, you've got your synchronized button, off button, the mister for the front and rear. They're just all big block buttons, and they're just so easy to find and to use. When I was looking at the pictures, it was almost daunting because it looked very busy. It looked like there was a lot going on, and there was just too many lines and too many things just happening. But in reality, as soon as you get in one, it's not like that at all. In fact, it's all very, very intuitive. I like the fact that the steering wheel has this modern but slightly retro look to it, because a lot of the cars that you get into now, the center part is just round, whereas this one's a little bit more sort of funky in its form. But the buttons are so easy to use. On the right hand side, you've got your volume, which you could use to swipe down or up, but you can use them as a button as well. And then you've got your skip back or forward if you want to change songs. You've got this huge touchscreen here, which is just about the only thing that's touchscreen in here. Again, for me, that's a massive plus, because I think having touchscreen is just about enough. For everything else, you just want to be using buttons. You know, I don't want to be searching through a menu or looking at a really complicated button layout to be able to just demist my rear window, for example. Can you tell I'm a bit passionate about this? But the gear stick, again, you've got PRND, park reverse neutral driving. You literally just pull to where you need it to go and go. The screen is focused more towards the driver, which I like, so everything's facing me. And the user interface, you've got these big clear tiles across here. You've got radio, media, telephone, navigation, Apple CarPlay, car, all very tactile. You get a bit of feedback from the little clicks, so you know that you've pressed whatever it is that you're pressing. If I had to nitpick this stalk down here, I mean, look at it. That is a lot of information to have on one stalk. But for the most part, the practicality and the interior are two areas of the Q4 which I absolutely love. About 10 days before the Q4 turned up at my door, I was driving along Finchley Road in traffic, as you do. One of these literally just pulled up next to me, and the guy jumped out to get something out of his boot, and I thought this was a good time to do a bit of market research. So I put my window down, and I knew we were only going to have a 10-20 second window, so I just put my window down. I've got this coming in a few weeks, what do you think of it? And he said, and this is no word of a lie, and he said he loved the Q4, and he had two electric cars before, the I-Pace and the Tesla Model 3, I think he said. So he got me thinking, what's so good about the Q4 that he said it was so much better than the other two? And now that I've lived with it for the past few days and I've done several hundred miles in it, I 100% understand exactly what he meant. So I have driven now a few EVs from Jaguar and from Mercedes and now Audi, and yes, most EVs are very, very similar. They're refined, they're comfortable, they're quiet, and they're clean, which to most will be qualities that will be desirable when deciding on what to buy for their next car. Although my experience with Audi is somewhat limited, what I like about the Q4 is how simple it is, how intuitive, how straightforward it is. You just get in it, put it into D, and away you go. And how simple everything has been to use. And I think going from a combustion engine to an electric car can be daunting as it is. And the last thing you want is like really different and complicated and difficult technology and, you know, operating systems. The Q4 has been a truly wonderful experience in terms of, I have a 2017 diesel GLC. Coming out of that to this has been a very encouraging experience. And I think if you are thinking about going electric, be it with Audi or another brand, I think the Q4 is a car definitely worth visiting, because it's made that transition from what I have to this incredibly easy. And I cannot stress that enough. Right guys, so I hope you enjoyed that video. So now I'm going to give you guys 3 reasons why an electric vehicle may be a good idea. So reason number 1 is range anxiety. But the average journey in London is less than 20 miles return. For the purpose of this example, let's double it to 40 miles round trip. So if the Q4 gives you a 200-mile range, some 100 miles short of its claimed range, so if we're thinking like worst case scenario, that should last the average person on Monday to Friday. And in that space of time, assuming you don't have a charge point at home, you should be able to find a charge point between Monday to Friday quite easily and charge your car. Which dovetails to my next point. Reason number 2, convenience. Imagine waking up every morning, taking a walk to your car and having a full tank of fuel, right? That's a huge bit of convenience. You wake up in the morning, your car's preheated or pre-cooled depending on the weather outside, and you've got a full tank of fuel, full tank of charge. And reason number 3, imagine the worst EV in the market right now. Whether that's the smallest, one with the worst range, whatever you interpret the worst to be. Imagine the worst EV car right now. That car is better than your average combustion engine car. It's more quiet, it's more refined, it's got better tech, and it's just gonna drive better. And what 3 pieces of advice would I give you? Well, first of all, try not to worry about RV, so the resale value of an electric car. None of us have a crystal ball. We don't know what the future is going to do. I can't give you financial advice, but if you were to PCP or lease an electric car, you know, over a 2, 3 or 4 year term with anticipated mileage, all that kind of stuff, look after it with due diligence, fair wear and tear, you can always hand the car back to the finance company or back to the dealership if the residual value of the car plummets. So you don't need to worry about what that car is going to be worth in the future. One bit of advice that's going to make or break your experience owning an electric car is whether you have a charge point at home. You must get a charge point at home. You come home every night or every day, whatever it may be, you plug your car in, and by the following morning it's fully charged. That is going to give you a huge level of convenience, and it's your best option in terms of cost. Yes, your home charge won't be as fast as some of the faster points at public charge points, but you have to weigh up time versus cost. Electric is electric everywhere you go. It's just the faster your car charges, the more expensive it is. So if you're not in any rush, what's the point of paying 10 times more or whatever it may be, more for the electricity? And that's my biggest gripe with charge points. Only use public charge points if you genuinely have no other option. And lastly, it's more of a rant than it is advice, but the cost of charge points. You can go to some charge points that are charging 25 pence per kilowatt hour up to £1 per kilowatt hour. So it's just something to watch out for. Again, going back to my last point, wherever possible, just charge your car at home. Unless you're in a real rush or, you know, it's a matter of not being able to make it to your destination, then yeah, you don't have a choice, use a public charge point, but wherever possible, use your home charger. So there you are guys, I hope you found that useful, and I'll see you in the next video. Make sure you subscribe, don't miss out. It's a Porsche.